Almost at the okay. Acts chapter 7. The Kohen Hagadol asked, "Are these accusations true?" And Stephen said, "Brothers and fathers, listen to me. The God of glory appeared to Abraham Avinu in Mesopotamia before he lived in Haran, and said to him, 'Leave your land and your family and go into the land that I will show you.' So he left the land of the Kasdim and lived in Haran. After his father died, God made him move to this land where you are living now. He gave him no inheritance in it, not even space for 1 foot. Yet he promised to give it to him as a possession and to his descendants after him, even though at the time he was childless. What God said to him was, 'Your descendants will be aliens in a foreign land, where they will be in slavery and oppressed for 400 years. But I will judge the nation that enslaves them,' God said, 'and afterwards they will leave and worship me in this place.' And he gave him Berit Milah. So he became the father of Yitzchak, and did his Berit Milah on the 8th day, and Yitzchak became the father of Yaakov, and Yaakov became the father of the 12 patriarchs. Now the patriarchs grew jealous of Joseph and sold him into slavery in Egypt, but Yahweh was with him, and he rescued him from all his troubles and gave him favor and wisdom before Pharaoh, king of Egypt, who appointed him chief administrator over Egypt and over all his household. Now there came a famine that caused much suffering throughout Egypt and Canaan. But when Yaakov heard that there was grain in Egypt, he sent our fathers there the first time. The second time, Joseph revealed his identity to his brothers, and Joseph's family became known to Pharaoh. Joseph then sent for his father Yaakov and all his relatives, 75 people. And Yaakov went down to Egypt. There he died, as did our other ancestors. Their bodies were removed to Shechem and buried in the tomb Abraham had bought from the family of Hamor in Shechem for a certain sum of money. As the time drew near for the fulfillment of the promise God had made to Abraham, the number of our people in Egypt increased greatly, until there arose another king over Egypt who had no knowledge of Joseph. With cruel cunning, this man forced our fathers to put their newborn babies outside their homes, so that they would not survive. It was then that Moshe was born, and he was beautiful in God's sight. For 3 months he was reared in his father's house. And when he was put out of his home, Pharaoh's daughter took him and brought him up as her own son. So Moshe was trained in all the wisdom of the Egyptians, and became both a powerful speaker and a man of action. But when he was 40 years old, the thought came to him to visit his brothers, the people of Israel. On seeing one of them being mistreated, he went to his defense and took revenge by striking down the Egyptian. He supposed his brothers would understand that God was using him. He supposed his brothers would understand that God was using him to rescue them, but they didn't understand. When he appeared the next day as they were fighting and tried to make peace between them by saying, "Men, you're brothers, why do you want to hurt each other?" The one who was mistreating his fellow pushed Moshe away and said, "Who made you a ruler and judge over us? Do you want to kill me the way you killed that Egyptian yesterday?" On hearing this, Moshe fled the country and became an exile in the land of Midian, where he had 2 sons. After 40 more years, an angel appeared to him in the desert near Mount Sinai in the flames of a burning thorn bush. When Moshe saw this, he was amazed at the sight. And as he approached to get a better look, there came the voice of Yahweh. "I am the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov." But Moshe trembled with fear and didn't dare to look. Yahweh said to him, "Take off your sandals, because the place where you're standing is holy ground. I have clearly seen how my people are being oppressed in Egypt. I have heard their cry, and I have come down to rescue them, and now I will send you to Egypt." This Moshe, whom they rejected, saying, "Who made you a ruler and judge?" is the very one whom God sent as both ruler and ransom. Sorry, I'm gonna say this. Maybe I'm getting a little tired. This Moshe whom they rejected, saying, "Who made you a ruler and judge?" is the very one whom God sent as both ruler and ransomer by means of the angel that appeared to him in the thorn bush. This man led them out, performing miracles and signs in Egypt, at the Red Sea, and in the wilderness for 40 years. This is the Moshe who said to the people of Israel, God will raise up a prophet like me from among your brothers. This is the man who was in the assembly in the wilderness, accompanied by the angel that had spoken to him at Mount Sinai, and by our fathers, the man who was given living words to pass on to us. But our fathers did not want to obey him. On the contrary, they rejected him, and in their hearts turned to Egypt, saying to Aharon, make us some gods to lead us, because this Moshe, who led us out of Egypt, we don't know what has become of him. That was when they made an idol in the shape of a calf, and offered a sacrifice to it, and held a celebration in honor of what they had made with their own hands. So God turned away from them, and gave them over to worship the stars, as has been written in the book of the prophets. People of Israel, it was not to me that you offered slaughtered animals and sacrifices for 40 years in the wilderness. No, you carried the tent of Molech and the star of your god Riphan, the idols you made so that you could worship them. Therefore I will send you into exile beyond Babel. Our fathers had the tent of witness in the wilderness. It had been made just as God, who spoke to Moshe, had ordered it to be. It had been made just as God, who spoke to Moshe, had ordered it made, according to the pattern Moshe had seen. Later on, our fathers who had received it brought it in with Yehoshua, when they took the land away from the nations that God drove out before them. So it was until the days of David. He enjoyed God's favor and asked if he might provide a dwelling place for the God of Yaakov, and Shlomo did build him a house. But Haelion does not live in places made by hand, as the prophet says. Heaven is my throne, says Yahweh, and the earth is my footstool. What kind of house could you build for me? What kind of place could you divide for my rest? Didn't I myself make all these things? Stiff-necked people with uncircumcised hearts and ears, you continually oppose the Ruach HaKodesh. You do the same things your fathers did. Which of the prophets did your fathers not persecute? They killed those who told in advance about the coming of the Tzaddik, and now you have become his betrayers and murderers. You who received the Torah as having been delivered by angels, but do not keep it. On hearing these things, they were cut to their hearts, and ground their teeth at him. But he, full of the Ruach HaKodesh, looked up to heaven and saw God's Shekinah, with Yah-Usha standing at the right hand of God. Look, he exclaimed, I see heaven opened, and the Son of Man standing. Look, he exclaimed, I see heaven opened, and the Son of Man standing at the right hand of God. At this, they began yelling at the top of their voices so that they wouldn't have to hear him. And with one accord they rushed at him, threw him outside the city, and began stoning him. And the witnesses laid down their coats at the feet of a young man named Shaul. As they were stoning him, Stephen called out to God, Lord Yah-Usha, receive my spirit. Then he kneeled down and shouted out, Lord, don't hold this sin against them. With that he died. Chapter 8. And Shaul gave his approval to his murder. Starting with that day, there arose intense persecution against the Messianic community in Yerushalayim. All but the emissaries were scattered throughout the regions of Yehuda and Shomuron. Some godly men buried Stephen and mourned him deeply, but Shaul set out to destroy the Messianic community. Entering house after house, he dragged off both men and women and handed them over to be put in prison. However, those who were scattered announced the good news of the word wherever they went. Now Philip went down to a city in Shomuron and was proclaiming the Messiah to them. And the crowds were paying close attention to what Philip said, as they heard and saw the miraculous signs he was doing. For many people were having unclean spirits driven out of them, shrieking. Also many paralytics and crippled persons were being healed, so that there was great joy in that city. But there was a man named Shimeon in the city who for some time had been practicing magic and astonishing the nation of Shomuron, claiming to be somebody great. Everyone gave heed to him, from the lowest to the highest, saying, "This man is the power of God called the Great Power." They followed him because for a considerable time he had amazed them with his magic. But when they came to believe Philip, as he announced the good news concerning the kingdom of God and the name of Yah-Usha the Messiah, they were immersed, both men and women. Moreover, Shimeon himself came to believe. And after being immersed, he attached himself closely to Philip, and he was amazed as he saw the miraculous signs and great works of power that kept taking place. When the emissaries in Yerushalayim heard that Shomuron had received the word of God, they sent them Kepha and Yochanan, who came down and prayed for them, that they might receive the Ruach HaKodesh. For until then they had not come upon any of them. They had only been immersed into the name of the Lord, Yah-Usha. Then as Kepha and Yochanan placed their hands on them, they received the Ruach HaKodesh. Shimeon saw that the Spirit was given when the emissaries placed their hands on them, and he offered them money. "Give this power to me too," he said, "so that whoever I place my hands on will receive the Ruach HaKodesh." But Kepha said to him, "Your silver go to ruin, and you with it, for thinking the free gift of God can be bought. You have no part at all in this matter, because in the eyes of God your heart is crooked. So repent of this wickedness of yours, and pray to the Lord. Perhaps you will yet be forgiven for holding such a thought in your heart. For I see that you are extremely bitter and completely under the control of sin." Shimeon answered, "Pray to the Lord for me, so that none of the things you have spoken about me will happen to me. Pray to the Lord for me, so that none of the things you have spoken about will happen to me." Then, after giving a thorough witness and speaking the word of the Lord, Kepha and Yochanan started back to Yerushalayim, announcing the good news to many villages in Shomuron. An angel of Yahweh said to Philip, "Get up and go southward on the road that goes down from Yerushalayim to Aza, the desert road." So he got up and went. On his way, he caught sight of an Ethiopian, a eunuch who was minister in charge of all the treasure of the Kandake, or queen of Ethiopia. He had been to Yerushalayim to worship, and now, as he was returning home, he was sitting in his chariot, reading the prophet Yeshayahu. The Spirit said to Philip, "Go over to this chariot and stay close to it." As Philip ran up, he heard the Ethiopian reading from Yeshayahu the prophet. "Do you understand what you're reading?" he asked. "How can I?" he said, "unless someone explains it to me." And he invited Philip to climb up and sit with him. Now the portion of the Tanakh that he was reading was this: "He was like a sheep not to be slaughtered, like a lamb silent before the shearer. He does not open his mouth. He was humiliated and denied justice. Who will tell about his descendants, since his life has been taken from the earth?" The eunuch said to Philip, "Here's my question to you. Is the prophet talking about himself or someone else?" Then Philip started to speak. Beginning with that passage, he went on to tell him the good news about Yah-Usha. As they were going down the road, they came to some water, and the eunuch said, "Look, here's some water. Is there any reason why I shouldn't be immersed?" He ordered the chariot to stop. Then both Philip and the eunuch went down into the water, and Philip immersed him. When they came up out of the water, so there's a alternative passage, a missing passage. And Philip said, "If you believe with all your heart, you may," he answered. "I believe that Yah-Usha, the Messiah, is the Son of God." He ordered the chariot to stop. Then both Philip and the eunuch went down into the water, and Philip immersed him. When they came up out of the water, the Spirit of the Lord snatched Philip away. The eunuch saw no more of him because he continued on his way, full of joy. But Philip showed up at Ashdod and continued proclaiming the good news as he went through all the towns until he came to Caesarea. Caesarea. Okay, I think I'll stop here. I don't want to do too. I'm taking it easy today. It's 2 chapters. Okay, Genesis. Chapter 25. Abraham took another wife whose name was Keturah. She bore him Zimuran, Yokushan, Medan, Midian, Yishbak, and Shuak. Yokushan fathered Sheba and Dedan. The sons of Dedan were Ashurim, Letushim, and Leumim. The sons of Midian were Aipha, Epher, Hanok, Abidah, and Eldah. All these were descendants of Keturah. Abraham gave everything he owned to Yitzchak, but to the sons of the concubines he made grants while he was still living and sent them off to the east, to the land of Kedem, away from Yitzchak, his son. This is how long Abraham lived, 175 years. Then Abraham breathed his last, dying at a ripe old age, an old man full of years, and he was gathered to his people. Yitzchak and Ishmael, his sons, buried him in the cave of Machpelah in the field of Ephron, the son of Jochal the Hittite, by Mamre, the field which Abraham purchased from the sons of Heth. Abraham was buried there with Sarah his wife. After Abraham died, God blessed Yitzchak his son, and Yitzchak lived near Beer Lahai Roi. Here's the genealogy of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar, the Egyptian woman, bore to Abraham. These are the names of the sons of Ishmael, listed in the order of their birth. The firstborn of Ishmael was Nebayot, followed by Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadad, Daima, Yetul, Naphish, and Kedema. These are the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names according to their settlements and camps, 12 tribal rulers. This is how long Ishmael lived, 137 years. Then he breathed his last, died, and was gathered to his people. Ishmael's sons lived between Havilah and Shur, near Egypt as you go toward Ashur. He settled near all his kinsmen. Here's the history of Yitzchak, Abraham's son. Parasha 6, total dot. Here's the history of Yitzchak, Abraham's son. Abraham fathered Yitzchak. Yitzchak was 40 years old when he took Rivkah, the daughter of Bethuel, the Arami, from Padan Aram, and Aram, and sister of Laban the Arami, to be his wife. Yitzchak prayed to Yahweh on behalf of his wife because she was childless. Yahweh heeded his prayer, and Rivkah became pregnant. The children fought with each other inside her so much that she said, "If it's going to be like this, why go on living?" So she went to inquire of Yahweh, who answered her, "There are 2 nations in your womb. From birth they will be 2 rival peoples. One of these peoples will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger." When the time for her delivery came, there were twins in her womb. The first to come out was reddish, and covered all over with hair like a coat, so they named him Asaph. Then his brother emerged with his hand holding Asaph's heel, so he was called Yaakov. Yitzchak was 60 years old when she bore them. The boys grew, and Esau became a skillful hunter, an outdoorsman, while Yaakov was a quiet man and who stayed in the tents. Yitzchak favored Esau because he had a taste for game. Rivkah favored Yaakov. One day when Yaakov had cooked some stew, Esau came in from the open country exhausted. and said to Yaakov, "Please, let me gulp down some of that red stuff. That red stuff, I'm exhausted." This is why he was called Edom, red. Yaakov answered, First tell me your rights as the firstborn." "Look, I'm about to die," said Esau. "What use to me are my rights as the firstborn?" Yaakov said, "First, swear to me." So he swore to him, thus selling his birthright to Yaakov. Then Yaakov gave him bread and lentil stew. He ate and drank, got up and went on his way. Thus Esau showed how little he valued his birthright. Interesting. Chapter 26. A famine came over the land, not the same as the first famine, which had taken place when Abraham was alive. Yitzchak went to Gerar, to Abimelech, king of the Pelishtim. Yahweh appeared to him and said, "Don't go down into Egypt, but live where I tell you. Stay in this land, and I will be with you and bless you, because I will give all these lands to you and to your descendants. I will fulfill the oath which I swore to Abraham your father. I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky. I will give all these lands to your descendants, and by your descendants all the nations of the earth will bless themselves. All this is because Abraham heeded what I said and did what I told him to do. He followed my mitzvot, my regulations, and my teachings." So Yitzchak settled in Gerar. The man of the place asked him about his wife, and out of fear he said, "She's my sister." He thought, "If I tell them she's my wife, they might kill me in order to take Rivkah. After all, she's a beautiful woman." But one day after he had lived there a long time, Abimelech, king of the Pelishtim, happened to be looking out of a window when he spotted Yitzchak caressing Rivkah, his wife. Abimelech summoned Yitzchak and said, "So she's your wife after all. How come you said she's my sister?" Yitzchak responded, "Because I thought I could get killed because of her." Abimelech said, "What is this you have done to us? One of the people could easily have slept with your wife, and you would have brought guilt on us." Then Abimelech warned all the people, "Whoever touches this man or his wife will certainly be put to death." Yitzchak planted crops in that land and reaped that year 100 times as much as he sowed. Yahweh had blessed him. Yahweh had blessed him. Ooh. The man became rich and prospered more and more until he had become very wealthy indeed. He had flocks, cattle, and a large household, and the Pelishtim envied him. Now the Pelishtim had stopped up and filled with dirt all the wells his father's servant had dug during the lifetime of Abraham his father. Abimelech said to Yitzchak, "You must go away from us, because you have become much more powerful than we are." So Yitzchak left, set up camp in Wadi Gerar, and lived there. Yitzchak reopened the wells which had been dug during the lifetime of Abraham his father, the ones the Pelishtim had stopped up after Abraham died, and called them by the names his father had used for them. Yitzchak's servants dug in the Wadi and uncovered a spring of running water. But the herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with Yitzchak's herdsmen, claiming, "That water is ours." So he called the well Esek, quarrel, because they quarreled with him. They dug another well and quarreled over that one too. So he called it Sitnah, enmity. He ran away from there and dug another well, and over that one they did not quarrel. So he called it Rakovot, wide open spaces, and said, "Because now Yahweh has made room for us, and we will be productive in the land." From there, Yitzchak went up to Beersheba. Yahweh appeared to him that same night and said, "I am the God of Abraham your father. Don't be afraid, because I am with you. I will bless you and increase your descendants for the sake of my servant Abraham." There he built an altar and called on the name of Yahweh. He pitched his tent there, and there Yitzchak's servant dug a well. Then Abimelech went to him from Gerar with his friend Achuzat and Pekol, the commander of his army. Yitzchak said to them, "Why have you come to me, even though you were unfriendly to me and sent me away?" They answered, "We saw very clearly that Yahweh has been with you." So we said, "Let there be an oath between us. Let's make a pact between ourselves and you, that you will not harm us, just as we have not caused you offense, but have done you nothing but good, and sent you on your way in peace. Now you're blessed by Yahweh." Yitzchak prepared a banquet for them, and they ate and drank. The next morning they got up early and swore to each other. Then Yitzchak sent them on their way, and they left him peacefully. That very day Yitzchak's servants came and told him about the well they had dug. They had found water, so he called it Sheba. And for this reason the name of the city is Beersheba to this day. When Esau was 40 years old, he took as wives Yehudit the daughter of Beri the Hittite, and Basmat the daughter of Elon the Hittite. But they became a cause for embitterment of spirit to Yitzchak and Rebekah. Alright, I'll read one more. Chapter 27. In the course of time, after Yitzchak had grown old and his eyes dim, so that he couldn't see, he called Esau his older brother and said to him, "My son." And he answered, "Here I am. Look, I'm old now. I don't know when I will die. Therefore, please take your hunting gear, your quiver of arrows, and your bow. Go out in the country and get me some game. Make it tasty the way I like it, and bring it to me to eat. Then I will bless you before I die." Rivkah was listening when Yitzchak spoke to his son Esau. So when Esau went out to the country to hunt for game and bring it back, she said to her son Yaakov, "Listen, I heard your father telling Esau your brother, 'Bring me game and make it tasty so I can eat it. Then I will give you my blessing in the presence of Yahweh before my death.' Now pay attention to me, my son, and do what I tell you. Go to the flock and bring me back 2 choice kids. I will make it tasty for your father the way he likes it. And you will bring it to your father to eat, so that he will give his blessing to you before his death." Yaakov answered Rivkah his brother, "Look, Esau is hairy, but I have smooth skin. Suppose my father touches me, he'll know I'm trying to trick him, and I'll bring a curse on myself, not a blessing." But his mother said, "Let your curse be on me. Just listen to me and go get me the kids." So he went, got them, and brought them to his mother, and his mother prepared them in the tasty way his father loved. Next, Rivkah took Esau, her older son's best clothes, which she had with her in the house, and put them on Yaakov, her younger son. And she put the skins of the goats on his hands, and on the smooth parts of his neck. Then she gave the tasty food and the bread she had prepared to her son Yaakov. He went to his father and said, "My father?" He replied, "Here I am. Who are you, my son?" Yaakov said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done what you asked me to do. Get up now, sit down, eat the game, and then give me your blessing." Yitzchak said to his son, "How did you find it so quickly, my son?" He answered, "Yahweh, your God, made it happen that way." Yitzchak said to Yaakov, "Come here, close to me, so I can touch you, my son, and know whether you are in fact my son Esau or not." Yaakov approached Yitzchak his father, who touched him and said, "The voice is Yaakov's voice, but the hands are Esau's hands." However, he didn't detect him, because his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands, so he gave him his blessing. He asked, "Are you really my son Esau?" And he replied, "I am." He said, "Bring it here to me, and I will eat my son's game, so that I can give you my blessing. So he brought it up to him, and he ate. He also brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Yitzchak said to him, "Come close now, and kiss me, my son." He approached and kissed him. Yitzchak smelled his clothes and blessed Yaakov with these words, "See, my son smells like a field which Yahweh has blessed. So may God give you dew from heaven, the richness of the earth, and grain and wine in abundance. May peoples serve you and nations bow down to you. May you be lord over your kinsmen. Let your mother's descendants bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be everyone who blesses you." But as soon as Yitzchak had finished giving his blessing to Yaakov, when Yaakov had barely left his father's presence, Esau his brother came in from his hunting. He too had prepared a tasty meal and brought it to his father. And now he said to his father, "Let my father get up and eat from his son's game, so that you may give me your blessing." Yitzchak his father said to him, "Who are you?" And he answered, "I am your son, your firstborn Esau." Yitzchak began trembling uncontrollably and said, Then who was it that took game and brought it to me? I ate it all just before you came, and I gave my blessing to him. That's the truth, and the blessing must stand." When Esau heard his father's words, he burst into loud, bitter sobbing. "Father, bless me too," he begged. He replied, "Your brother came deceitfully and took away your blessing." Esau said, "His name, Yaakov, really suits him, because he has supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and here, now he has taken away my blessing." Then he asked, "Haven't you saved the blessing for me?" Yitzchak answered Esau, "Look, I have made him your lord. I have given him all his kinsmen as servants, and I have given him grain and wine to sustain him. What else is there that I can do for you, my son?" Esau said to his father, "Have you only one blessing, my father? Father, bless me too." Esau wept aloud. And Yitzchak his father answered him, "Here, your home will be of the richness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above. You will live by your sword, and you will serve your brother. But when you break loose, you will shake his yoke off your neck." Esau hated his brother because of the blessing his father had given him. Esau said to himself, "The time for mourning my father will soon come, and then I will kill my brother Yaakov." But the words of Esau, her older son, were told to Rivkah. She sent for Yaakov, her younger son, and said to him, "Here, your brother Esau is comforting himself over you by planning to kill you. Therefore, my son, listen to me. Get up and escape to Laban, my brother in Haran. Stay with him a little while until your brother's anger subsides. Your brother's anger will turn away from you, and he will forget what you did to him. Then I'll send and bring you back from there. Why should I lose both of you on the same day?" Rivkah said to Yitzchak, I am sick to death of Hittite woman. If Yaakov marries one of the Hittite women, like those who live here, my life won't be worth living." Okay, that's it. Thank you very much. Namaste. I'm gonna do ASMR pretty soon, within a half an hour. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to. Chapter 27. Okay, thank you.